Now to that new polling suggesting a major shakeup in the race for the Democratic presidential nomination. The latest NBC News Marist poll finding Bernie Sanders leads Hillary Clinton in New Hampshire. And that lead is even larger when Vice President Joe Biden is not factored into the equation. Of course, the VP has yet to announce that he's actually running for the White House. On the Republican side, Donald Trump strengthening his lead over the competition in New Hampshire and Iowa, according to that same poll. The lineup for the top three contenders in both states very different compared to just a few months ago. Early leaders Jeb Bush and Scott Walker have tumbled to single-digit support. Kristen Fisher is live in Washington. Kristen, let's start with the Democrats. How big of a deal are these polls for Clinton's campaign?
Well, Molly, you have to keep in mind that this is just one poll, but it really hammers home what other polls have been showing, and that is Bernie Sanders is no longer a candidate that Clinton can just ignore. A few months ago, Clinton was a shoo-in for the Democratic nomination, but she's been slipping in the polls, largely due to all of those issues with her private email server. And now, according to this new poll, Sanders is beating her in New Hampshire by 9 points. Sanders gets 41%, Clinton 32%, Joe Biden 11%, and we don't even know if he's running. Now, if Biden decides not to run, then according to this poll, Sanders does even better. And it's not just New Hampshire. Sanders is also within striking distance in Iowa, where Clinton's lead has dropped 24 points since July. A Sanders campaign spokesman said, quote, "These new polls confirm that the more voters get to know Bernie, the better they like him." Well, yesterday, Clinton acknowledged her competition, but she never once mentioned Bernie Sanders by name.
I've always thought this was going to be a competitive primary, and I welcome that. I think that this is a contest. It's a contest of ideas, of policies, of, how we present ourselves to the American people.
So I think it's safe to say that this is starting to look like a real race on the Democratic side. Molly?
Yeah, it's always been a race on the Republican side. Where do those candidates stand now?
Well, no surprise here. Donald Trump is still dominating in both Iowa and New Hampshire. In Iowa, you can see that he's still sitting pretty with 29%, followed by Ben Carson with 22%. But the big story here is what's happened to those early frontrunners. Jeb Bush and Scott Walker are now in single digits. In fact, Walker has dropped a whopping 14 points since July. But today, he tried to downplay at a campaign stop in New Hampshire.
A long ways out. The people who were leading the pack in the past 4 and 8 years ago weren't leading the pack when it came time for the votes here in New Hampshire and in Iowa. And I'm confident if we stay true to who we are, we'll ultimately prevail.
And he has a point. It is still early. The Iowa caucus isn't until February. But these polls just show you what a difference a few months can make when you're running for president in this race. Molly?
There is a ways to go. Thank you so much, Kristen Fisher. We appreciate it.
You got it.
All right.